Hello, everyone. This is Rhonda McClure with the American Ancestors and New England Historic Genealogical Society. We're going to get started with our presentation in just a moment, but first I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get logged in and set up so that we can get going and have a great afternoon. So first off, as you're coming in, I do hope that you will put where you're coming from through Facebook, through the comments, so that we can get a sense of where everybody's from. And I'm hoping that everybody is doing well, staying safe, and that your families are as well. So we're going to get started with our presentation here momentarily. I did want to go over the fact that we're going to do some demonstrations of some of our key databases and talk about some of the tips and tricks that we, the genealogists, use to get the most out of our databases. I am going to go through some of the databases that are available for guest members, as well as one that is for members only. But I'm going to show the guest members just exactly how to get to just those databases that you have available to you, so you're not frustrated by getting hits for something you can't see. So we're going to get started in just a little while. And I see that Jean Junker is from Western Mass. Welcome. I'm looking forward to hearing where some of our other people are from. And after I have gone through my demonstrations, we are going to go ahead and answer some of your questions. So as the demonstrations are going on, please feel free to post your questions. They will not be answered at that moment. We have people tracking those, and then after I have finished showing you how to do the different things on our screen, then we will take your questions and hopefully get to all of them. So in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about some of the other people who are here. Ontario, hello. We have somebody from Belleville, Ontario, and Jefferson, Missouri, Massachusetts again, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Green Valley, Arizona. This is great. It's lovely to see so many people coming in and getting started. So for those of you who are just checking in, I'm going to go ahead and reintroduce myself just before I get started with showing you how to do what we're going to talk about today. And I hope that you're all getting a chance to do some extra genealogy, since we're all sort of homebound here, and that you're making maybe some new discoveries, chipping away at those brick walls as well. So I am going to get started in about a minute. So until then, feel free to continue to introduce yourselves. It's great to see you all. And as I said earlier, hope everyone is doing well, both yourselves and your families. So for those who may not be aware, this is our very first maiden launch of Facebook Live for American Ancestors and New England Historic Genealogical Society. We're probably going to do these not as frequently as we do our Twitter chats, which are every Tuesday on Twitter at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. But we will be doing more of these going forward to help you guys get some more benefit out of American Ancestors, and maybe learning how to do some of the databases in a bit more depth. So let's go ahead and get started, and because we've got a few things to cover. Again, my name is Rhonda McClure. I am Senior Genealogist at American Ancestors and New England Historic Genealogical Society. And once again, let me welcome everyone who has come here. We will have some of our other staff who will be handling some of the comments. So if you're having any technical issues or anything like that, go ahead and post those in the comments, and we have some of our staff who might be able to help you with that. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get started. As you can see, we have shared, I have shared the American Ancestors front page. This is where everything good from American Ancestors can be accessed. And today we're going to talk about searching some of our databases. Now, a lot of people have members and guest members search these databases, but I'm hoping that maybe you'll pick up a couple of tips and tricks on how to get the most. So the first thing that we're going to do is make sure that you're logged in. So you can see here it says welcome Rhonda at the very top. That is to let me know that I have logged in and have all of my benefits of my level of membership. And then I'm going to take you, and we're going to spend most of our time over here on the search area. And most of the time when we go to the search, we hit search, and the first thing that we do is the box appears with many, many options, and we go straight to the advanced search. That's great if you're kind of doing a scattergun approach, but if you are looking for something very specific, I do recommend perhaps narrowing your field to either a specific set of databases, such as you see here. We've got vital records, journals and periodicals, census, etc. That limits the search and the hits that you get at the very, very top to those that are pertinent to what you were researching. However, many times we have people who call us back when we were allowed in our building, and who now call us through the, and we help them on the phone from home and ask how to get to a specific database. So that's the first thing that I'm going to show you. And that is that if you go down and browse the databases A to Z, that's where you're going to be able to access all of the databases. So the first thing we're going to do is browse databases. And the next screen that appears will display a database list of A to Z. And let me call attention to the fact that we have 471 databases. So when you do a search all databases, you are searching 471 databases. That's why sometimes your hits may not be as focused as you would like. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is the Massachusetts vital records, 1620 to 1850. And the easiest way to see what we have either for a state or a country is to begin to type in that state or country up here in this search by database name. As I continue to type the word Massachusetts, you will see that our database count is changing, as does the list of databases over on the right. So very quickly, we have some little icons. The magnifying glass, of course, is the universal search option. Then we have in this very top one, Massachusetts Divided Hearts, Massachusetts Loyalists, we have a little piece of paper. That means these are going to be abstracts from that particular record group. And then the star allows you to make this a favorite database. So if you use it a lot, you might want to mark it with a star. Down below that, we see Massachusetts Jewish Cemeteries, and you'll see that it has a slightly different middle icon. It has a little camera. This means that there are actual images to be viewed. So that's the difference between these 6 kind of icons that you're seeing in these top lists. But what we're going to do now is we are going to scroll down until we get to Massachusetts Vital Records 1620 to 1850. And I'm going to click on the title so that I can show you its main page. But if you wanted to do a search, you would just go ahead and click on the magnifying glass. So as I click on Massachusetts Vital Records 1620 to 1850, sort of its title page comes up, and it allows me to search the database, Massachusetts Vital Records 1620 to 1850. This is how I know that I'm searching just this database and nothing else. For those of you who are guest members, this is one of our included free databases. And after we get done with this, I will show you how to know just what we have available for databases. So in this particular instance, I'm going to go really, really simple, and I'm going to type in a first name and a last name, and then I'm not going to do anything else. You can get more limited in your search, but I often like to start out broader. very often we know more than the record does. So with that information in Peter Eyre, we're just going to come down and we're going to click on the search button, and a number of items will come up. The first thing that you'll see at the very top below your search results is how many search results you got, how many records. So we have 9,194 hits for Peter Eyre or some variation. And the reason I say some variation is because you can see here the search filters over on the left, and where you see Peter Eyre, the name, you'll see that it's currently set for broad. So it will pick up different spelling variations of the last name of Eyre, which can be spelled many different ways, or it may also give you names that are similar. The top hits, though, will fit your search parameter exactly. So we're going to go to this very, very top hit here, and Peter Eyre is his name. You can see the little camera next to it. Then over for the event, it's a birth in 1689. Location is Haverhill, Massachusetts. Now, if I click on Peter Eyre and the little camera, it will not take me directly to the image. It takes me to like a sort of an in-between page that gives me some of the information you see here already. But since I know what these books are, these are the published vital records to 1850 that so many of us have used in book form with their tan covers, I'm just going to go straight and click on View Image. This will take us to the page, and immediately what we do is we go down and we look at the page. You can zoom in by clicking on it, or you can pull it by holding down your mouse, your left mouse button, and dragging your mouse. Now, this happens to be page 20. Notice here that we have, this particular page starts with Mary, and if we scroll all the way down, we find the Peters that we were interested in, and here is Peter, son of Nathaniel Jr. and Anne Swan, June 10th, 1689. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit and point out a couple of things. The first thing is, if you get carried away, or if like me, I often end up double clicking the image so it gets too big, I can come up and minimize it with this minus button here. But the thing that I want to call your attention to is, so perhaps you're looking for all of the children of Nathaniel and Anne Swan Eyre. Obviously, the Eyre name in Haverhill, very popular surname. So what I can do is I can maneuver these pages. So I can go back a page, and now I'm in starting with the, you can see here as I zoom this up that I'm starting with the J's. So I could go through all of these pages to view everybody. I wanted to get a better sense of how many Eyres there are. Obviously that works better if you've got a less common name in a particular area. And that allows me to go through the whole 328 pages if I wanted to. Now, this particular item is Haverhill births. What about Peter's marriage? Well, I could go back out, do another search, or I could go and pull up this subset menu. So let me do that again. Under the volume, you'll see a little down arrow, and we have the subsets. Haverhill 2, volume 2, is the marriages and deaths. And that will take us immediately to the front page, which shows us marriages and deaths. Now, obviously, I don't want to go through all of the pages until I get to the heirs. So I could try going to page 20 again and see where that puts me in the alphabet. And look, it put us right at the end of the AYER. And then here's heirs, another variation. So that's one way that you can manipulate and move around within any of our databases, is using this page count. So the easiest and quickest way to get back to our front page is to come up to the very top, click on American Ancestors. And now I'm going to, before we go into our next database, I am going to show everyone how to control what databases are available. So when we go into the advanced search, And before we put in any kind of information, you will see that we have a line here kind of midway that says database type. All databases, favorites, free with images. So by changing this, I control what hits appear. For those of you who are guest members, if you click on the free button and then go and look at the categories, you will see that things will have changed. You should see roughly about 25 databases instead of our 471. So that's a way to limit your search to those items. If you have been using the star and you want to search just your favorites, that's easy. Just change that to favorites and the same thing would happen. And if you wanted to work with just those databases that have images, you could do that as well. So what we are going to do in this case is I'm going to leave it to all databases, and I am going to do a search of births, marriages, and deaths. Okay. And or actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to leave this to genealogies, biographies, etc. And see how that changes your list. Every time you change that category, you change your list. All right. So that's the best way to maneuver. Now, for this particular case, we're going to just go to all, and I'm just going to put in John Alden, because the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about a very popular database that we got just towards the end of last year, and that is the Mayflower 5-generation series books. But what we have sometimes is difficult for people to understand. So when you do a search, you get all sorts of things. So see here, if I put John Alden, my top hits are not what I want. So the other thing that I can do is, again, go back to American Ancestors. And again, go to search, go down to that browse databases. In this case, I'm going to begin to type the word Mayflower. And that will limit me to just those that have that word somewhere in their title description. You'll see this third one, Mayflower families, 5th generation descendants, 1700 to 1880. I'm going to click on that. And the first thing I want to do before we do a search is I want to scroll down to the rest of the information, default search tips, etc. You'll see here that we have sample images, and there's a description of this database. Please know that this database is not the full volumes from generation 1 to 5. This is the 5th generation with the children of the 6th generation listed. So that's what's here. You will not be able to see all of the descendants from John Alden all the way through. This is our agreement with the Mayflower Society, the General Society of Mayflower Descendants, and it currently does not include those pink books, which are the in-progress genealogies or the ones that Picton Press published. But again, we're going to go all the way back up, and we're going to do a search on John Alden again, and we're just going to hit the search button. And not surprisingly, we get all sorts of hits. And we'll just grab our top one here, John Alden. And again, if you click the name, this is what you see. This is that middle subpage that I was telling you about. It gives you some of the original text, etc. So we're going to view the image. And let me zoom this in a little bit for you, get to the top of it. Okay, so this particular John Alden is the 5th generation. You can tell that by the little superscripted 5. And then over to the right of his name in parentheses, you get his direct line back to John Alden, the immigrant. So although you aren't getting everything, you at least know the direct line back. And there are lots of published resources that will show you the information of these 4 generations, helping you to get that additional information. Now, as I mentioned, you can change your volume here through the volume and the page, or you can do it from where we were first searching for this. So I'm going to use my back button real quick, and we're going to go back one more. Okay, and we're going to one more back. There we go. Okay, so where we searched the database, you could also browse this. So if you knew there was a particular descent through a particular child or something, or you knew for a fact that you were descended from Edward Fuller, you could just come down here and use the right side, this browse this database, if you wanted to, and pull down until we get to Robert or to Edward Fuller. I usually just default to page 1 and hit browse. So this is another way that you could do this. And apparently it has logged me out while I was doing our thing. I had literally logged in before we started. So we'll go log in again real quick. At least we hope we will. There we go. Okay. So and okay. We'll log in, and that should take me directly to what I was requesting, which was Edward Fuller, page 1. Okay, now as you look at these, you're going to find that they look different. They've been published for 20, 30, 40 years. So each time they get published, things look a little different. I'm just going to go to page 100 up here and see what we've got. Again, easy way to maneuver around things. And here we have, this is the 6th generation children that you see here, and then below that you get references. So there are ways for you to trace back your ancestry in this. As I mentioned, the Mayflower 5th generation descendants database is a members only for paid membership in New England Historic Genealogical Society. So that one you would have to be an actual member, not a guest member. Our final one that we're going to do has to do with the Catholic records from the Boston Archdiocese, which we have been so excited to have. And again, I usually come and I search and I just browse to my database. This is the quickest way to find what you're looking for. So I'm just going to type in the word Catholic, and it's going to narrow me down to 6 databases. The top 2 appear to be the same database, but you'll notice a slight difference. The top one is a members only searchable database. The second one is the image only Roman Catholic Archdiocese database. This is available to guest members, and this is why I was showing you how to browse through the databases, because this is how you have to do it. If you search this database, you could get the location of a particular church, but you can't put a person's name in because it's just limited to location. Usually I already know the church that I'm interested in, and so excuse me, I will just come straight down and start pulling up what I'm looking for. In this case, we're going to go to baptisms in Jamaica Plain, and I'm going to take a quick drink. Okay, so again, I usually default to page 1. I'm going to browse. And the one thing that we really don't do a lot of here is we don't go back and forth. We go to the first page because we're used to clicking on a name and being taken to our page. Use your back arrow here. If it is blue, it means it will do something. So if I click it and go backwards, notice that my page number has now changed to IND_29A. I'm going to take that 29A and I'm going to change it to, let's change it to 15. Okay. And so what I'm getting now is I'm getting quite a few people. I'm going to zoom in on this for you. And we can see we're in some M's. There's only a couple of those in all of Boston. And beside each person's name, there's a page number. So here we have Jean Josephus McDonough, page 138. I am going to go all the way up to our top here, and I'm going to put in page 138 and hit enter. And then we will get a page. So the first thing I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to zoom in and make sure I am on page 138. And now I'm just going to scroll down until I find our Joannis Josephus McDonough. She was number 178. She was born on 20 August 1900, and she was baptized the 26th of August 1900. And her parents, as we're going over, are Michaelis or Michael, and the maiden name of the mother, Maria Costello. And then, of course, you're going to have the godparents, and then who did the baptism. And then if there are any notes. Notice here that there are some side notes. I'm going to actually zoom this up a little bit. Above our girl, there are some marginal notes about marriages that took place. So those might be useful to you. Okay. You always want to read the whole page, go all the way across the page. And as I said, when it gets too big, you can always come up here and you can minimize it to a degree. You can also download these using the download option, or you can print them. I will say that when you do a print, it opens a separate page and sends you a view as you see it. I prefer to download them so that I can save the images, for one thing, and that way I have a way of zooming in and zooming out. When you print it, though, you do get the great source citation. So that is something that you can do. So that was pretty much all I had to show you for today, but I am going to see if we have any pending questions. And let's see here. Let's see. Don't see questions. Okay. Okay, one of our questions, John from Delaware, asked what is the latest group of Massachusetts vital records that we have on our website. So let me go, and I'm going to get back to our main page. We'll go to our front. We have up through 1920 on our website. The 21 to 25 is being digitized by Family Search, and it's sort of in progress, but on our website, we have the 1841, the state vital records, 1841 all the way up to 1920. And, and we have a thank you from the Clark County, Nevada Genealogical Society, who is sharing our stream on their Facebook page. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. The question is, let's see here. Amanda from Vermont asked if you can search the Massachusetts vital records with only a given name in deaths. Absolutely. Nothing says you have to put a surname in our search. You're going to get a lot of hits, but then that's where you might want to narrow down and use that broad slider to exact for just that given name, or if you have like a potential death range that you could use as well. Stanley in Oregon asked, will the Great Migration Project be continued from 1636 to 1640 on American ancestors? I believe it will. It will obviously, I think it's going to go much the same as when Bob was doing it, where they come out in book form first, and then ultimately they come on to our website. But there is a person who has taken up the gauntlet from Bob to continue the research and those volumes. So we're happy about that. Let's see, we have a couple of questions. Can I use wildcards with these databases? Can I get TAG or other journals without doing a search all? That's an easy one. Again, you can narrow your search down. Let me bring this over. Search, and we're going to, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit here. Search, and the journals and periodicals, and that will narrow you down to all of the periodicals that we have. And then you can put in the name of the person. The years, remember, with the periodicals, it's not the years that are being discussed in the article, it's the year of publication. So you might want to avoid that. And Jane in Ohio asked, how do I find out about new databases? Well, we do a lot of webinars on our website, and one of those is usually done by our web team, and they talk about a lot of the new and upcoming databases. So you might want to do that, or you might want to subscribe to our e-news, which you can do by going to our main page, and under the news, nope, not search, news, there we go. You will see the weekly genealogist. That's our e-news, and you can subscribe to that, and they always mention what are our new databases as well. Let's see, Carl in Wisconsin was asking about the church records I was displaying to you, especially the fact that they were in color. Isn't that amazing that they're the originals, not some microfilmed version? And would additional records be added at some later time? We did start out going up just to 1900, and then we went to 1920. And so the 1920 cutoff, I'm not sure what the arrangement or agreement is, if we will be able to continue that. That would perhaps be something to ask to our webmaster and our web team, because they're highly involved in that. We have a question about the Catholic records and searching the actual searchable database of the Catholic records. So we'll go back in here. I'm going to go and browse the database again. And we're going to type in Catholic. Remember that the searchable one is just for members. So you do have to be a member of American Ancestors and New England Historic Genealogical Society to do this. And we're going to go with Manuel. And for the person who is asking if you do things with just a first name, we'll just leave this wide open, because we're not doing something that we would cry if we saw 3,000 entries. So we're just going to leave that wide open, and we're going to do a search. Okay, now here we have additional suggestions. And then we have the very first one here happens to be Emmanuel de Sousa de Rosa. One of the things to keep in mind is that you may be able to search on the name you know your person as, but keep in mind, as we saw with Joanna McDonough, her name was written in Latin. These records tend to be in Latin, so you want to keep that, be aware of that. The other thing that you probably saw, I'm going to go back to our search real quick and the refine. And at the bottom, you saw available, like any search family members, like dad, mom, the spouse. I'm going to show you why we didn't do that, because you'll notice here that even though some of these are baptisms, we don't have necessarily all of the information, such as the parents' names, abstracted into the index that you're really searching. So sometimes, again, less is best. And then if it's too overwhelming, then you can narrow down your search. There was a question from somebody about an ancestor having a marriage in 1677 in Sudbury. Can't find where he came from. You know, unfortunately, the marriages do take place with the person in question, with the wife where she lived, but you've got to ask yourself, how did she find him? How did they meet? So sometimes that is an important aspect of your research, not just going in for names, dates, and places, but asking how and why. And although I did mention the fact that the names are in the database, in the Catholic records, were in Latin, as you saw with Manuel de Sousa, you know, we can play around with that. And when they were doing the indexes, when our very, very, very many useful busy bee volunteers who we love were indexing these, they did the English ones as well. So I think that's about all our questions for today. If you have any questions, or if you are, up against a roadblock with your genealogy, there are many avenues that we are still doing ourselves throughout the stay-at-home fun that we've been having for the last couple of months, and we will continue to make those available. Those are our consultations, and while we're not doing them in person, sitting across the desk with you, we are doing them via Zoom, which is what you saw me sharing my screen with and talking to you much like I've done today, as well as phone consultations. And then, of course, we have our great, wonderful researchers in research services who will just do the research for you. And sometimes that might work better for you. So I want to thank everyone who joined us today, and I hope you had a great time. I hope that you learned one or two tricks on how to find some things on our website, and please leave some additional comments. We'll on our webpage about some of the other things that you'd like us to show you or demonstrate through Facebook Live, and we'll do those going forward. So from myself, Rhonda McClure, and all the staff at American Ancestors and New England Historic Genealogical Society, I want to thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful day and weekend.